What if the best way to learn how to code wasn't about starting from scratch, but about taking something that's already brilliant and tearing it apart? Well, today we're doing just that. We're going to deconstruct the official Next.js dashboard tutorial to figure out why it's such a masterclass in teaching modern web development. Okay, let's get right into it.
So, think about this for a second. Most tutorials, they start you off with a totally blank file. You're typing out div, then h1, just building it all up, line by tedious line. And sure, you learn the syntax. But is that really how professional software gets built in the real world? We're going to challenge that whole idea today. See, the team at Next.js, they took a completely different path. Instead of making you start from zero, they just hand you this nearly complete production-ready application and basically say, all right, let's pull this thing apart and see what makes it tick. This isn't building, it's learning by deconstruction.
Okay, so here's the difference in a nutshell. On one hand, you've got the traditional way, which is, fine for learning the absolute basics. But on the other hand, the Next.js approach is a mirror of the real world. Because let's be honest, you almost never start with a blank page at a professional job. No way. You're dropped into a huge existing code base, and your first job is just to figure out how it all fits together.
And this immersion, it starts right away. The very first command you run doesn't just create a few empty folders, it clones a fully pre-configured working app straight from GitHub. And just like that, you're not a student staring at a blinking cursor anymore, you're an engineer working on a real project.
And get this, even the tiny details are actually deliberate lessons. The tutorial specifically tells you to use PNPM. And you might ask, why? Well, it's because it's faster and way more efficient with your disk space. Now, this isn't just some random tool they picked. It's a little hint, a nudge towards a professional mindset that cares about performance right from the very start.
So how does the tutorial actually start teaching you this new way of thinking? Well, the first lesson isn't even in a line of code. It's in the folder structure. This is not just some random collection of files and folders. It's a carefully planned architectural blueprint.
And right at the heart of this blueprint is something called the app router. This is the new foundational way that Next.js works. You can think of it like the central nervous system for the whole application. It's the thing that makes all the other cool stuff, like high-performance server components, even possible.
And you can see the why behind every single folder. The app directory, that's the core of the new router. But then you have app/lib, which strictly keeps your data logic separate from your UI. And app/UI, that's for all your reusable components, teaching you about design consistency from day one. Every folder is enforcing a professional best practice. It's teaching you architecture just by its layout.
Now, it's not just the file structure. The tutorial also introduces you to a whole toolkit that professionals use. The specific technologies they included were all chosen to get you into a production-ready mindset from the very beginning. For starters, the entire project is written in TypeScript, and this is a huge deal. For any big application, making sure your data is in the right shape is absolutely non-negotiable. TypeScript is like a safety net that catches errors while you're coding, not when your app crashes for a real user. The tutorial is basically teaching you to build for reliability.
Okay, next step is something that seems small but is actually a game changer: placeholder data. This teaches you one of the most important lessons in modern development, which is decoupling. By using this fake mock data, the front-end team can go and build the entire user interface without having to wait for the back-end team to be ready. It lets people work in parallel, which is absolutely essential for shipping software fast.
And all of this brings us to the real payoff. All of these choices, the architecture, the tools, they all mean that this simple little dashboard isn't just some toy project you're going to throw away. It is built from the ground up to scale into a real-world application.
And this, right here, is the real genius of it all. The tutorial doesn't just end when you finish the last step, because it was never really just a lesson. It was intentionally designed to be the first chapter of a real live application with a foundation that is robust, performant, and ready for you to build on top of.
And the path forward from here is crystal clear. You'd start by swapping out that placeholder data for a real database, maybe something like Postgres. Then you'd build out your API layer to handle creating and updating things. From there, you add the big stuff like authentication, write your tests, and deploy it. The structure the tutorial gives you is ready for every single one of those steps.
So, when we step back and look at the big picture, what's the real lesson here? After digging through the architecture and the tools, you start to realize it's not really about the specific features of Next.js at all. It's about something much, much deeper. Ultimately, the real value you get from this tutorial isn't just learning how a framework works. It's that you're absorbing what a professional, robust project structure actually feels like, one that embodies all those key principles of good software engineering. It's basically a hands-on course in building things the right way.
And this is really what it all boils down to. The Next.js tutorial teaches you to think like an architect, not just a line-by-line coder. It forces you right from the start to think about things like scalability and professional workflows. You're not just learning to write code, you're learning to design and build software that can actually last.
And that really just leaves us with one final question. You know, this tutorial doesn't just give you a fish, it teaches you how to design the whole fishing operation. It gives you the blueprint for a modern, scalable web application. So, the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?